Thank you for joining us to continue our study of Volume 18. We were going to begin with October 24th, 1925. We'll have prayer and then a couple of photos and some comments related to the International Divine Will Congress, and then we'll go on to the passages. But first, we'll open with prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Eternal Father, I offer thee the precious body, wounds, and blood of thy beloved Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lamb without spot or blemish, in reparation for my sins and for the sins of all thy priests. Come, divine will, by thy precious body, wounds, and blood, O Jesus, purify and sanctify thy priests and all souls. O Father, from whom all fatherhood in heaven and on earth is named, have mercy on all thy priests, and wash us in the blood of the Lamb. Amen. And just this week, we celebrated the memorial of St. Charles Borromeo. He died on November 3rd, 1584, at the age of 46. He put himself at great risk in taking care of the victims of the plague, while the city officials left immediately to avoid becoming ill. And there must have been some questions posed to him about his concern about it challenging his life or putting him at risk. And his response was, "It is not how long we live, but how well we live that matters." There are many short quotations. I just picked two. The Lord has given us the power to become sons of God. And this was back in 1584, and certainly he was responding with this focus on the scriptures and what we know as deposit of faith. But for us who are studying the divine will, we know that there is a much higher meaning, understanding of what it means to become sons and daughters of God. And we're so privileged to have the lessons. Lastly, before I go to the photos, I had been emailing Jeff Zirkle related to video clips and what have you, and he sent this. I wanted to include this link to the YouTube channel that I'm creating for the 2025 Congress. So they've been super busy because after Congress is over, there is so much that needs to be done to load up and move out and make sure that the speakers and all the travelers are attended to, which is how they spent this week. But they did post one video clip at this YouTube address, and that's where the presentations, the video clips from all of the presentations of the Congress will be uploaded in time. So if you can do a screenshot and save that link, you might want to check it once every 2 or 3 weeks, and be patient because there's a lot of work that goes into preparing each of the video clips to upload. And then at the close of the meeting, I have a prayer that I entitled, just for the purpose of this meeting, Wounded Hearts Made One. And the reason I was thinking of that is that I had the privilege of offering a memorial mass for a brand new little one. I'm not going to use a name because I didn't get the permission to do that, but a brand new little one that didn't live for very much longer after birth. And thanks be to God, the parents are aware of the lessons. One, a very avid student, and the other certainly aware of all the emphasis of Luisa's writings on the divine will. And I would say at varying levels, depending on the age, the children of that homeschooled family also have the concepts of the life and the divine will. And so it was beautiful to see the peace and even a joy, not to say that they don't feel the weight of a little one that they don't get to watch grow up, but a trust, a confidence in the Lord and giver of life, and his will being perfect for all of us. So we're going to pray just one memorare now, not just for this family, and certainly, I emphasize all the time that whenever we have a particular focus, people in need that we know, a certain thing that we think would glorify God as it relates to a particular life or region or situation, we can use that as a catalyst, but we always need to include all souls, past, present, and future. And we can add anyone that has had any kind of experience or challenge or suffering, like a family that has an unexpected death of one of the members, and especially when they're so young. And so we entrust all of them through the Immaculate Heart to the Sacred Heart, and ask for the graces to be docile to the will of God, placing trust in Him and His goodness as we pray. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thy intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, we fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, our Mother. To thee do we come, before thee we stand sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not our petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer us. Amen. So I'm going to bring up the first photo. I have a few photos. I'll try not to overdo it. I think of when I was a kid, we went to visit some friends of my dad's, and they wanted us to come over and see their 8mm movie of their vacation. And it was nice to see about the first 2 or 3 minutes. But we sat there for about an hour, and they were having a very good time because they were reliving their vacation, and we were being, generous and sitting there and watching. I don't want to do that to you, but I do think that everybody that joins us to study the divine will would find at least a few of these photos and little reflections interesting. So, did I bring that up? I think I did click on the picture before hitting share. Sorry about that. Let me try it again. Okay. Tim, can you see if I put that up on the screen? I don't know if it's just on mine or if everybody can see it. Open your mic and let me know.
We don't see it yet.
Oh, okay. Let me try that again. Maybe I'm not able to do that with these, but I'll try it one more time.
There we go. Now it's coming up. Oh, that's your
Is
text.
that just the link?
That's the link. Yep.
Yeah. I might not be able to pull it out of my photo file, but I'll try it one more time. If it doesn't work this time, then we'll move on. We'll have the sharing of those that were with us, though. Let's see. I think what happens is it makes it so big that I can't click on the part that I want to include.
Father Debbie's also waiting in the guest room.
Okay, that's good. I'll make sure that she's brought in. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, did it come up this time?
There we go.
Okay, good. So this is a shot of the hall where the meeting was held. You can see there was a beautiful group, a packed house. I think they actually had to turn people away. And everybody was very enthusiastic. There was so much work that went into this. Um, uh, Jeff and Mary Zirkle and Alejandra Acuna and all the other workers, they had a fantastic team that were supporting this event. Everybody was in their stations, even when the talks were going on, because we had headsets. So I expect that they were able to hear them out in the lobby and in different places where they were serving, but they were truly servants of everybody that was there, making the whole event very beautiful, very comfortable, flow very smoothly. And I've worked on conferences before, and it's a tremendous responsibility and can be draining. It's so much work to be done, but they did it constantly with beautiful smiles. Let me pull up. Here we go. This is the one that I'm going to ask Peggy to open her mic and share a little bit of your take on the event.
Oh, it was, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Well, it was just an amazing conference. Over 750 people, probably 20 different priests, at least, concelebrating the masses, and probably a dozen more, I don't know, in the audience that were not concelebrating, but probably visiting. So just the grace of being present with so many people who desire to make reparation and to join in every footstep in every conversation, though not perfectly, but I mean, it was just an incredible grace to be present with so many people and so many beautiful, humble leaders in the Divine Will movement. They had a beautiful tribute to many of the folks who have come before us, advancing the knowledges, the publications, the spreading of the beautiful message of the divine will in different countries, probably, at least I know, Canada, Mexico, Ecuador, Nicaragua, France, Italy, Spain, probably more, England, probably more, but all over the United States. So it was just a beautiful gathering together. Do you want me to continue, Father, or you? I have a few notes.
Take another minute or two is fine.
Sure. I think that the theme was on unity, and that was a very prevalent theme. There was about 16 speakers. So when you have patience for the YouTube to be uploaded, just remember there's 16 different talks that'll probably be posted on YouTube. So I would really encourage you to watch those, take notes, read the transcript on YouTube. It's very edifying. Some are very deep and some are very conversational and practical. But for me, I just have a few notes on the theme of unity and what I got out of it. So I heard a lot about just being reminded that Jesus was very insistent with Louisa on being obedient to the priests. You know, the priests were very key in her beginning and in her as confessors and supporters. Many of the popes, the local bishop would send priests to her home. If you don't know the history, certainly read her biography, Son of My Will, and it'll explain a lot about all the priests. But the writings really belong to the church, and that was a beautiful statement to be reminded of. And that Louisa really knew that the church was indispensable to the message. In fact, it was very integral. And Jesus would often, one of the speakers said that Jesus would speak directly to Louisa, but he would also speak directly through his priests. And so that was a good reminder. He said that there's only one voice, and it's Jesus's voice. So for me, that was a reminder that, you know, it's real easy to be critical of the church, critical of our country, critical of our priests, critical of the mass that we attend. And it was just a reminder to be reminded that we are criticizing Christ himself. So no matter what is happening in the world and in the church, whatever boring mass that you have to sit through, it shouldn't be boring because Jesus is present. So I got a lot out of that, and it's a good reminder that in the church's proper time and proper way, the writings will be advanced and available prolifically around the world. Please God, someday soon. But that in the meantime, we have to walk in unity with the church, and mostly the way we do that is to read and to study and to do what we know we can do in the divine will and live holy lives as best we can. And Jesus does the work. So that's it.
Let me pull Debbie Stuberg into the meeting. Let's see. It always takes me a few minutes to figure out what I'm supposed to do next. So bear with me for a moment. Someone joined us. Don't see. Uh, so I'm going to go to another. Oh, Katie, if you would open your mic, we're going to, I'll ask you to share next. Katie, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm still on the road, but I did want to echo what Peggy said, and I was just, when I first got there, I did see a lot of people that had been on the trip when we went to Italy. And there's just everyone that was there was, all smiles and hugs and it was, room full of people completely enthusiastic about the divine will and the Lord and the love that's, really the essence of the divine will and wanting to share that. So it was really just an amazing experience. And sorry, I'm driving. Yeah, and I guess I don't really have anything else to say. I guess I'm driving, so I can't really think of anything else to say. Sorry, but it was really a wonderful experience.
Thank you for taking the time to sign in with us even while you're on the road. We wouldn't want to hear you halfway through your reflection and then a crunch. So we'll let you go. But
Okay.
again, thank you very much
Okay.
for being with us on the trip.
Okay.
In this picture, we've got Debbie Stuberg. Those of you who attend our meetings know very well all the work that Debbie and Peggy and Katie's not in this shot, but we have another one just a moment ago where Katie was with us, and you're going to see another one in a minute. Many of you know Ann Ellison. She had a real challenge against her health with cancer, but she looked fantastic and was in great spirits at the Congress. And she along with Kathy Fay. Kathy Fay was there as well, and they were pillars along with Tom Fay. And after Tom had passed, to bring together Divine Will conferences. I had the privilege of participating in a couple, and so glad to see her with vigor and a beautiful, loving attitude, which I've always known her to have. So it was a blessing. Oh, and some of you might have known Brother Gabriel is his name now, but he was on Andrea here in San Diego and would attend the Divine Will study groups when we were at Little Flower Haven. And one of the beautiful experiences with Andrea when he was attending in person was that he is Italian, so he speaks Italian fluently, and he had all the volumes in Italian in his phone. So sometimes during the meeting, I would read a passage, and if it was the translation might have been a little bit different, I would ask Andrea, how do you read it and how do you understand it? And he always had very good contributions to the tone of the reflections in the meeting. Well, he is now Brother Gabriel. He's with the Benedictine brothers associated with Mother Gabrielle, who is on the internet a lot. And they're in Tennessee right now, establishing a beautiful compound. Which is under construction. So you keep them in prayer. And Brother Gabriel has completed all his classes while he was in Italy for the ordination to the priesthood. But right before that occurred, the order moved him to Tennessee um, to help establish the new house. Well, the bishop in Tennessee doesn't know these brothers for very long. So you don't just move into town and say, will you please ordain me? I didn't get a chance to get ordained just before I left Italy. So the Lord is really trying the patience of those who were going to be taking the next step. But obviously the next step that the Lord had for them was to get situated and exercise patience in the divine will as they wait to be so familiar with the bishop that he is comfortable with an ordination of those that have, I think there are 2 or 3 that have completed their classes. So we keep them in our prayers because that's very difficult when you're ready to enter into sacerdotal ministry, only to find out that you're not going to have that opportunity very soon. We keep them in our prayer. I have just a couple more pictures I'll bring up. Here we go. We have Katie in this one along with Mother Gabrielle. Okay, so this just before the end of the day, before we got on the bus to head back to the airport, we had a nice lunch break with Mother Gabrielle. There's Katie. You didn't see her because she's busy driving, but she's one of the San Diegans. Those of you who aren't part of the San Diego group and attending our meetings, and she helps with the third. Actually, most of the time. With the third Friday. That's the one Friday that I don't do a study like we do tonight, the other Fridays of the month. And she always has beautiful reflections on the passages to share as she guides the open forum discussion that's on the third Friday of each month. So we have Mother Gabrielle, we have Debbie Stuberg in the back, and I didn't see her on the in the attendee list. I'll check that again in just a moment. And I don't know the young lady. She had stepped up to visit with Mother Gabrielle, had a few questions when we snapped the shot. Very glad she was able to join us and be with us as well. Let me go to one more. I think I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the Italian delegation. They are major contributors and have been for years for the Pious Association Luisa Picaretta, and the hospitality that they afford to so many coming from different countries, because people now, as Luisa is becoming better known, they come from all directions and treated very warmly. And you know, when you're in the home base and you have people coming from every direction. I think I messed up. Let me see if I can change that. Can you see the overlay, or do you see just the picture that I pulled up, Tim?
Yeah, there's a black box in the middle, Father.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotta get rid of that. Sorry. There we go.
It's covering you, so okay.
That covering me, it would be fine.
And now it's kind of moving over, but
Let's see. Oh, I don't want to end the meeting. I almost clicked to end the meeting. Okay, I'm going to close it and bring it back up. Sorry. If I can. There we go. Oh, no, that's hi Tim, how you doing? I need a operator's manual that's would be alive and sitting right next to me. There we go. Okay, so oh no, the delegation. And I'm recording all this. unlike Jeff Zirkle, who spends hours editing and doing a fantastic job, what you see with me is what you get. Sorry to tell you that. There we go. All right. Okay, I'm not going to touch anything else until I finish with this. On the left is Father Marco Canavo, and he leads several Divine Will study groups. And also, if you get the official emails almost every week with reflections on the homilies, that's on the left. That's it shows when the post comes. Don Marco. That's Don Marco, Father Marco Canaboa, and he's been associated with the website and the association for many years. Next to him is Father Vincenzo Bovino, and he's the pastor of Santa Maria Greca. That's where the crypt of Luisa Picaretta is, up in an alcove on the main floor of the church, and he is one very enthusiastic preacher. In fact, some of the English-speaking people said that they hope that the next time he comes to the United States, he'll present in English, because his enthusiasm is so great, and his support of all the Divine Will groups and students that come to Corrado. He certainly was very involved when we were there for the International Congress Easter week, and also when we went last October. And then this is next to me on that would be my left. So to the right in the picture of me is Antonella Bucci, and she's served in a lot of different capacities for the Pious Association Luisa Picaretta, and she's very hospitable for everybody, but especially for priests. And her talk was related to the treatment of the Divine Will priests and a call to holiness. When I was listening to her talk, I have to say, there's always room for all of us for improvement, but I was really being convicted of how much more I could do, how much more I could give to be more perfectly, or striving to be more perfectly a son of the most holy Trinity, as a son of the Divine Will in priesthood. And then do I have, I think also in the picture on the screen, you can see Carmen Volato. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Kind and loving soul that has been very much involved with the Divine Will of Pious Association for years and years and years. And she was in a close personal friendship with Mother Assunta of the Daughters of Divine Zeal, and beautiful to have her in the United States. She was very involved everywhere at the two conferences that our pilgrimage groups attended in Corrado. Tim, do I have an overlay on the picture of Enza Arbori, or can you see her?
Yeah, you still have the overlay there.
Okay.
Yep.
Then
And Debbie is still in the
I'm
waiting
going to
room.
get out of this and see if I can remove that. Let's see.
Tell them.
I don't think that works. Okay, I think that. One more try.
Then Father Debbie is in the waiting room still.
Oh, well, I didn't see her there. Let me see if I can bring her in.
She must have something really good to say because she's excited.
Well, when I pull up attendees, I'm looking for Debbie S. in the list. It looks like Monica saw her, but I don't.
She would be, Father, she would be a presenter.
She's already in as a presenter? I don't see her on the list as a panelist. No, I was going to bring
maybe
her
it's
in
a
so that
phone
she could
number.
do that. What's that?
Sometimes it's a phone number. Tim, can you see what she's coming in as?
I cannot, no.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't see her anywhere in the participants. So I don't know where she's waiting. Let's see. Sorry, Debbie, I don't know how to pull you in.
Panelists, let's see here.
There's someone listed as owner. I don't know, maybe that's her. Well, I didn't see her coming over. Owner. Under owner, is that Debbie Stuberg?
Yes, it
Oh.
is.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. Hello.
I never knew you were labeled as owner.
I didn't either, Father.
Okay, so if you would share your thoughts on, since we got you in here, I don't want to lose
Sure.
you. Share your thoughts on the Congress.
Sure. It was a wonderful Congress. There was a real sense of joy and unity as we all came together, united as one family, as aspiring sons and daughters in the divine will. Father mentioned during his talk that we were all there because God had willed it and had chosen us from the beginning. Our Blessed Mother was with us. The organizers had a beautiful statue of Mary surrounded by the little children. And Mary said that that was all the little children of the divine will, all of us. Jesus was also with us. They set up a lovely chapel that where we had the opportunity for perpetual Eucharistic adoration. We know that all of the holy souls and all the holy saints were with us, especially that weekend was the Feast of All Saints and All Souls Day. And all of you were in our prayers as we, went through that, we're together throughout the weekend. Father said that everything flowed so nicely. I just wanted to echo that. Mary and Jeff and Alejandra did an amazing job preparing and organizing the entire event. On top of that, Jeff did all the recordings, and Mary and Alejandra did all the translations from the various talks. So that was a lot of hard work. And all the team of volunteers, I think there were about 100, Mary said, of volunteers that really helped to make things run smoothly. So we're very grateful to everybody for all their hard work. The presenters offered a wealth of knowledge to help us grow in the divine will. All the talks were great, and I encourage everyone to listen on the recordings when they're available. The theme, as was mentioned, I think by Peggy, was unity, unity of our human will with the divine will, unity with one another, with our Blessed Mother, with the Church, our Holy Father, the bishops, and also the Association of the Little Daughter of the Divine Will in Corrado. And just to conclude, I just took some comments from my notes. I know Peggy touched on the theme of unity. I'll just share a few other comments. Read the writings every day. We hear that from Father Dave. Masticate them, chew on them so they take root in you. Read and reread the Virgin Mary in the Kingdom of the Divine Will. Mary is ready to teach you. Ask her to help you live in the divine will. She always takes you to the Holy Trinity. The truths change you and transform you in Christ. Be faithful, attentive, and obedient. Pour love into all your acts in the divine will. And Father Asa Garcia, I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name, in his homily on Friday, the gospel spoke about a man suffering from dropsy. And in his homily, Father Garcia said that we suffer from spiritual dropsy. Father said, it's the human will refusing to be emptied and filled with the divine will. And he
Debbie, you've done.
I'm sorry, I must have hit that by mistake. So what is the remedy for the spiritual dropsy? It is a divine will. Emptying oneself of one's human will restores order and peace and divine life in us. And God doesn't replace our will. It's a surrender of our will to be in unity with the divine will. And then Father Marco, who Father just showed a picture of in his presentation, he said that he always gets the question from his divine will groups that he guides. And the question is, how can I do acts in the divine will? And Father responded, it's Jesus that does them in you. And Father said, the question should be, am I united with Jesus? So that's all I have. And it was a blessed time, and I'm grateful for being called and for giving my fiat.
So I'm glad you patiently waited to have me figure out how to bring you into the meeting. I'm going to bring up one more. I think I can get Enza. Oh, wait a minute. I have to take down that. Now I think Enza will be visible. If I can get to. Here we go. We shall see. It did it again. I don't know how to move that. There we go. I'm on the job training. Anyway, this is Enza Arbore. It was important to bring her picture up because she's the president of the Pious Association Luisa Picaretta. She had other positions with the association over time, and she was also in the diocesan office for Luisa's cause. So intimately involved with the progress that we are enjoying at this time in the propagation of the divine science. And always her presentations are very well prepared and cover a lot of material, very encouraging always. And when we were there during Holy Week, Easter week, the relationship that she has, very friendly, very open with the mayor of town, and he was strongly supportive of Luisa, very proud of, and I think it has a lot to do with the work that Enza and the others of the association have maintained with it all throughout Corrado. So we need to keep them in our prayers. It's a huge gift to have all of these from Italy fly over to be with us in this international congress. And there were multiple languages. You probably saw in a couple in that picture of the people in the hall, everyone's wearing a headset. And in the back of the conference hall, there was this sound box with booths in it, each separate from each other. And they had a headset on and a microphone. And so there were translations from English into Spanish and Italian, translations from Italian into English and Spanish. So there were, I would say, constantly 3 languages being translated. And there was Spanish and Italian and English, and actually there were 4 because my presentation was broken English. And so I think I might have been the most challenging because I just ramble, and they had to try to keep up to do the translations to make sure that the people that only understood Italian or Spanish would be guided along. So it was a wonderful experience and an awful lot of work that went into it. And on the video clips that are going to be available for us, you'll have either English as the presenter was speaking, or in the background the language that was being spoken, but a voiceover loud enough and clear enough so that you can understand the talk of the points of every presentation. So we keep all of the team that they get the rest that they need at this time, and for abundant blessings for all the sacrifices they made to give us such a wonderful Congress. It was a great grace of God for the promotion of the divine will. And as Debbie just mentioned, it was Father Esau on Thursday night, other times too, but especially on Thursday night, we came in just in time to catch the talk his presentation on Thursday night, and he emphasized repeatedly the importance of reading, continually reading to gain knowledge, to get those seeds of light in our souls, in our minds, in our hearts. And he hasn't been, it's just been a few years that he's been studying, but because of his constant reading, you would think that he'd been studying the divine will for a couple decades. And his enthusiasm and desire for everyone to gain the knowledge and apply it, it was very good, very uplifting, very enthusiastic. So we ask the Lord to bless everyone who made this great event possible for us, and the videos to be able to follow it possible for us as well. Now let's see if I can get to back to where we need to be. Okay, I still have owner on, so Tim, say something. Open your mic. I think it will.
Father, you're very photogenic.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. And so we've already prayed for the beginning. So if you'll start reading for us, October 24th, 1925.
Okay. One who thinks about the passion of Jesus keeps Jesus company, but one who lives in the divine will finds the creation and the passion in act and makes all that is of God her own. As I was in my usual state, I felt my sweet Jesus move in my interior, in the act of laying himself within me, as if he were about to start his agony. I heard his agonizing rattle, and I too felt like agonizing together with him. Then, after suffering a little together with Jesus, he said to me, "My daughter, thinking of my passion, offering me compassion in my pains, is very pleasing to me. I feel I am not alone in my pains, but I feel the company of the creature together with me, for whom I suffer, and whom I so much love, and by having her with me, my suffering becomes sweeter. How hard is the isolation in suffering! When I see myself alone, I do not know to whom to entrust my pains, nor to whom to give the fruit which my pains contain. So I remain as though suffocated with pains and love. Therefore, since my love can no longer resist, I come to you in order to suffer within you, and you suffer together with me the pains of my passion, which is in act, in order to repeat what I did and suffered in my humanity. To repeat in the creature my passion in act is different from one who only thinks of my pains and compassionates them. The first is an act of my life, which takes my place in order to repeat my pains, and I feel I am given back the effects of the value of a divine life. While in thinking of my pains and in offering me compassion, I only feel the company of the creature. But do you know in whom I can repeat my pains in act of my passion? In one who has my will as center of life. My will alone is an act which has no succession of acts. This single act is as though fixed to one point which never moves, and this point is eternity. But while being one single act, it is a prime act, an interminable act. Its circumference is so immense that nothing can escape it. It embraces everything and everyone with one single embrace, since everything starts from that prime act as one single act. Therefore, creation, redemption, and sanctification are one single act for the divinity, and only because it is one single act, it has the power to make all acts its own, as if they were one alone.
So we have this strong emphasis on praying the Passion, and he makes the distinction between meditating upon the Passion and then a share in his passion. So he starts out with, and I think this has impressed many people who have been studying Luis's writings for any length of time. I know it certainly has had a huge impact on the San Diego Divine Will study teams, groups, from the time that we had in-person meetings. And I know that other places have done the same, where occasionally they'll pray what is known as the clock, where a number of people, sometimes actually 24, some of the hours are a little bit longer, and so they might split those up into two segments. So maybe 24 to 30 people that are progressively moving through the hours of the Passion, so that there's this continual maintenance of divinized prayers related to every part of the 24 hours of the Passion. It doesn't have to be done during Lent. It could be a regular practice, and some groups probably do that. And within the San Diego members, I know that there are several that there's not a day that goes by that they don't pray a portion, not necessarily a whole hour, but included in the way that they spend their day, a portion of the hours of the Passion. And so he says, my daughter, thinking of my passion, offering me compassion in my pains is very pleasing to me. And so the more often that you are praying the hours of the Passion, inviting the divine will into your praying to be the very life of your prayer, gives it a living value and accompanying him. So it's not just a meditation, it's actually accompanying him. And it goes on, for me, for whom I suffer and whom I so much love, and by having her and me with me, my suffering becomes sweeter. So he's not abandoned, left to suffer on his own. And think about how many people on the planet, and it's not for us to judge, but think about how many of the over 2 billion people on the planet do not give a thought to his passion, and some of them even in Lent. And then there are some sons and daughters in the divine will who are accompanying him daily or frequently, maybe every Friday. You have to decide for yourself how it would fit into the other things that you're doing to try and learn and live the divine will. But when it's animated by the divine will, it repairs for the so many who won't give it a thought, and the so many who don't even know that there's great good that can be accomplished in even just meditating on his passion, but limitless good when the hours of passion are prayed with and in the divine will. And then he says, how hard is isolation and suffering? He says, I remain as though suffocated with pains and love, suffocated with the pains caused by our sinfulness, and the sinfulness, sum total of the sinfulness of all of humanity, and love. So he's suffering from the pains of unrequited love. So this love that he wants to unbosom on behalf of, for the sake of all of humanity, that is not known by some, rejected by others. Well, with the son or daughter in the divine will, accompanying him in the hours of passion, praying in the divine will, he gets to vent that fire of love that causes him suffering if there's no one to receive it. Then down in the next paragraph, different from one who only thinks of my pains, and he's not putting down those that don't know that there's more possible, but he's also making it clear there is no comparison of merely even very good and holy, pious human acts and divinized acts. While in thinking of my pains and in offering me compassion, I only feel the company of the creature. But do you know in whom I can repeat my pains in act of my passion? Well, that's an example that we could use for the ones that I mentioned praying for at the beginning of our recording. Those who have lost someone that they love, and not just suffer over the fact that they're not going to have that one with them, but entering into the divine will, inviting the divine will into their surrender in trust, a full trust that God knows what he's doing, that his will is perfect, even though it can be far from what we understand. And in the divine will, that makes a tremendous difference. It's a living reality. He says, I can repeat my pains, enact my passion in one who has my will as center of life. So not just believing in the will of God, and not just even it's good, but wanting to know God's will and doing it. Okay, that's still a human focus, but letting him do in our suffering, really wanting to be one, fused with his holy sacrifice. My will alone is an act and has no succession of acts. You know, this, he is going to be addressing this. He has in the past. It's going to be increasing this, all that he is and all that he does as one point. And for us, when we think of a point, we think like of a dot on a piece of paper. It's hard to go past that. But then he made it clear that we can't grasp the immensity of the circumference of that one point. It encompasses everything, past, present, and future, in this one point. And so he wants us to enter into all that he is and all that he does at the level that is possible for a creature, and to participate, just like the point that was raised in the reflections on the Congress, related to Don Marco's response to the people who, you can take passages and say, in the divine will, I do such and such. Well, the I do is a participation. It's not an initiation. We can have certain thoughts, certain focuses as we are fused in the divine will that we want to be a part of, but we are not the generators. We are, by the incomprehensible generosity of God, invited to be participators, and participators in a limitless way, as much as is possible for creatures. And so we thank God for what he's teaching us, and ask for the helps of the Blessed Mother, certainly the little daughter of the divine will, Luisa, to be interceding for us, that we take these lessons and learn how to apply them well and more constantly. Okay, we move on.
Now, one who lives in my will possesses this single act, and there is no wonder that she takes part in the pains of my passion as if they were in act. In this single act, she finds her Creator in act, who is creating the creation and forming one single act, excuse me, with her God. She creates along with him, flowing as one single act in all created things, and forming the glory of creation for her Creator. Her love shines upon all created things. She enjoys, she delights in them, and she loves them as things which belong to her and to her God. In that act, she alone has a note which echoes all the divine works. And in her emphasis of love, she says, what is yours is mine, and what is mine is yours. Let it be glory, honor, and love to my Creator. In this single act, she finds the redemption in act. She makes it her own. She suffers my pains as if they were her own. She flows within everything I did, in my prayers, in my pains, in my words, in everything. And she has a note of reparation, of compassion, of love, and of substitution for my life. In this single act, she finds everything. She does everything and places her return of love everywhere. This is why living in my will is a prodigy of prodigies. It is the enchantment of God and of all heaven, because they see the littleness of the creature flow in all the things of their Creator. And like a solar ray, Bound to this single act, it diffuses everywhere and in everyone. Therefore, I recommend to you, even at the cost of your life, never go out of this single act of my will, that you may repeat in you, as though enact, the creation, the redemption, and the sanctification. See also, nature contains the images of this single act. In the atmosphere, the sun has one single act. From the moment it was created by God, it always does one single act. Its light and its heat are so transfused together as to become inseparable from one another, from each other. And from on high, it remains always in the act of sending forth light and heat. And while up high, it seems that it is able to do but one single act. The circumference of its light descends to the bottom, and it is so great as to embrace all the earth. And with its embrace, it produces innumerable effects, constituting itself life and glory of all created things. By virtue of this single act, it has the virtue of enclosing each plant within itself, and to some it administers development, to some maturation of fruits, to some sweetness, and to some fragrance. One can say that all the earth begs the sun for life, and that each plant, even the tiniest blade of grass, beseeches from the sun its growth, and each fruit has to produce. But the sun never changes its action. It glories in doing always one single act.
So this one single act that he's referring to, it's important to keep in mind when he talks about creation beseeching, it's in the very nature of the created existence to be ordered towards God, not with the intellect that we're privileged to have, but in the very essence of what they were created to be. I've used the example before about how if you have a plant near a window and daylight is starting to break the horizon, some of those plants will start to move, and it's not by intellect, but by the very nature with which it was created to receive more and more of the rays of the sun. And all of creation is like that, except human beings. So we can order ourselves to the most holy will of God deliberately and more consistently with God's help, keeping turned towards the full surrender and full receptivity of all that God wants to pour into our lives and into our acts, or not. Everything else that's been created does exactly what it was created to do. And so we need to strive to be more and more like everything else in creation, but with our intellect. So we were created in the image and likeness of God, and that's part of the likeness that God has given us through Himself, and it glorifies Him more than all the beauty of everything else in creation. As beautiful as all of creation is, and because it's brought into existence by the divine artisan, the master of all beauty, the very fountain of all beauty. But of all the beauty in all of creation, to the most holy Trinity, nothing is more beautiful than a true son or daughter of His in the divine will, because He sees His own life not just reflected, but operating in the sons and daughters of the divine will. And that's the magnificent reflection of who He is, in that He created us in His image and likeness. Tiny as we are, it gives Him infinite glory. So we go back to page 317, or this page that Tim just started with, and I made some notations in that top paragraph. Now, one who lives in my will, heavy emphasis on that little word in, okay? When we invite the divine will into our acts, the divine will is operating in our acts, but that's not the same as living in the divine will. And that has to be the goal for all of us as we gain the understanding, the esteem for what he's wanting to give us. So I put in the margin, divine participation never to be understood as independent activity. I put this here because in the next paragraph, in the single act, she finds her creator in act, who is creating the creation. He is always creating. We will be astounded when we see that it's not like he created everything. Now we have the example in Genesis. He created what we know as the universe, and then he rested and saw that it was good. But that wasn't the end of creation. Think about all the lives that are being brought to light, that are permitted to be brought to light on the planet at this time. There's no end to his creative good, all in that one point, which is everything is within the circumference of this one point. So who is creating? This is God, and then he says, and forming one single act with her. That would be Louisa in this lesson, but also any other son or daughter in the divine will. With her, she creates along with him. Now that's why I put in the margin a divine participation. So she's participating in his creating power, because no human being, no soul at all, including Luisa's, is a generator in and of herself of divine life. A participator, yes, at a level beyond our understanding, but whenever someone says, I can do this and I can do that, well, we can only do what God wills would be done, including those who are privileged to be fused in the divine will. Okay, they're doing, but he's actually doing the doing, which was one of the points of that was quoted of Don Marco as he gives counsel to the groups that he guides. Her love shines upon all created things, because this love that's shining is divine love. And she doesn't generate divine love, but she is the participator because of being fused with and in the divine will. So it's divine love. So when she's loving with divine love, shines upon all created things. She enjoys, she delights in them, and she loves them. She loves them because she knows at an elevated way, and we are being taught so that we too can have this elevated love and appreciation for all that he has created, having created it for us, out of love for us. So when she's loving creation, she's loving the creator because she's receiving the creator's love reflected in all of creation for her. So you can have some people standing on the coastline watching a sunset and worshiping the sunset. You could have somebody standing right next to that individual worshiping the one who makes the sunset possible with all its beauty, astounded at what an infinitely good God, and magnificent in his beauty and creativity. So that's what she's doing. She's loving creation in that she's loving the creator. Just like if a woman's husband is away at war, or nowadays if a man's at home and the woman's away at war, and that individual kisses a picture of the distant spouse, it's not kissing a piece of paper, it's unbosoming the love for the one the picture represents. Well, all of creation is more than a picture. It is a living reality of God's own love for us and what he has made for us. And so she's loving, she loves them as things which belong to her, and I underscored heavily, and to her God. So it belongs to God first, and so it belongs to her because she's the daughter of God, the daughter of the Father. She has a share in the divine life. And so everything that is his is ours at the level that we are more perfectly his. The more that we give ourselves to him, the more he gives who he is and all that he has to us, his children. He doesn't want to hold anything back. Then down in the third paragraph down, In this single act, she finds everything, she does everything. This is why living, and I underscored very heavily, in my will is the prodigy of prodigies. Doing the will of God for those who don't know any more of the benefits, the possibility that we're privileged to learn. Well, God's pleased with their effort to do His will. We have saints that's to the best of their ability and with a increasing perfection, only knew how to do God's will. And we're being taught how to do God's will with God's own will, which gives it an infinite value. Is the prodigy of prodigies, he says. He says that there's nothing beyond this. We won't really be able to understand this, but we can gain understanding, knowledges as we continue to read. As was mentioned earlier, we need to read, read, read. The littleness of the creature flows in all things because the littleness of the creature is fused in the divine volition, which is the operating will of God. It diffuses everywhere and in everyone. Think about that. So when you are praying with and in the divine will, and you're giving to the Lord love, adoration, gratitude, worship, sorrow for sin, reparation for sins. Certainly we need to do that as individuals, but not just as individuals, but on behalf of all souls, past, present, and future. And so when we ask for the helps to be more perfectly united, more perfectly surrendered, with the voice of all of humanity, it actually is on behalf of everyone, but can be a way by which these divinized acts as voice for those who need graces of conversion may ready them for the conversion that he wants to pour into them if they will just open their minds and hearts to him, even if in desperation when things are going difficult, filled with difficulty. Then in that last paragraph before we go to the next page, and while up high it seems that it is able to do but one single act, the circumference of its light descends to the bottom, and it is so great as to embrace all the earth. Now, I want to point out, not just all the earth. He's certainly giving us this lesson. He's giving us this example. There's nothing on the earth that is not included within the circumference. But this is the reality for all of creation, all that exists, all of the universe. But this lesson is so that we can have this focus and maybe get a little better grasp of it. But the one point is that within which everything that has been created is contained and sustained and animated. Okay, we move on.
Also, human nature contains the image of one single act. The beating of the heart has it. Human life begins with the heartbeat. The heartbeat always does one single act. It can do nothing but beating. However, the virtue of this heartbeat and its effects in the human life are innumerable. As it palpitates, and at each heartbeat, it makes the blood circulate within the members of up to the outmost parts. As it palpitates, it gives strength to the feet in order to walk, to the hands in order to work, to the mouth in order to speak, to the mind in order to think. It administers heat and strength to the whole person. Everything depends on the heartbeat. So much so that if the heartbeat is a little labored, one loses energy and the will to work. The intelligence becomes numb, full of pains. One feels a general indisposition. And if the heartbeat ceases, life ceases. The power of one single act, repeated continuously, is great, more so, for the single act of an eternal God who has the virtue of doing everything with one single act. One who lives in my will already finds herself in this single act. And just as the heart has always a heartbeat in the human nature, which becomes life of it, so does my will palpitate continuously in the depth of the soul, but with one single heartbeat. And as it palpitates, it gives her beauty, sanctity, strength, love, goodness, wisdom. This heartbeat encloses heaven and earth. It is like the circulation of the blood. It is the circumference of light. It can be found in the highest points and in the outermost parts. Wherever this single act, this heartbeat of the soul, has full vigor and reigns completely, there is a continuous prodigy, a prodigy which only a God can do, and therefore new heavens, new abysses of graces, surprising truths can be discovered in her. But if one should ask, from where does so much good come to her? She would answer, united with the Son, together with the human heartbeat, and with the act of eternal God, of the eternal God, I do only one thing. I always do the will of God, and I live in it. This is all my secret. Having said this, he disappeared. But then I found myself outside of myself, with baby Jesus in my arms. He was very pale. He was all shivering, and with his lips blue and cold, and so thin as to move to pity. It seemed to me that he had taken refuge in my arms in order to be defended. I pressed him to my heart to warm him. I took his little hands and feet in my hands, and I squeezed them so that he would not shiver. I kissed him, and I kissed him over and over again. I told him that I loved him very, very much. And while I was doing this, the little baby regained color. He stopped shivering. He was all restored, and he clung more to me. But while I thought that he would stay always with me, to my surprise, I saw that little by little he went down from my knees, and I cried out, pulling him by an arm, Jesus, where are you going? How is it you leave me? And he, I must go. And I, when are you coming back? And Jesus, in 3 years from now. And he took his way to leave. But who can express my sorrow? I repeated to myself among tears and convulsions, I will see him again in 3 years from now. Oh God, how shall I do? And the pain was so much that I fainted and I could no longer understand anything. But while I was languishing, faint, I just barely opened my eyes and saw that he had turned back and was climbing my other knee. Little by little, he crouched down upon my lap. He caressed me with his little hands. He kissed me and repeated to me, calm yourself, for I will not leave you. And as he said, I will not leave you, I felt like regaining consciousness and receiving back life. Then I found myself inside myself, but with such fear that I felt like dying.
We know from other passages, and we'll continue to see the emphasis as we move through the volumes, that sometimes the deprivation, she calls it privation, of any sense of his presence was for her because of the intensity of her love and the privileges that had been granted her was enough to kill her, but she was being sustained by the divine will so she could continue her mission. You know, on occasion in homilies, I have said to different people, different groups, if we are at the level of doing absolutely to the best of our ability and wanting to learn and surrender ourselves more and more perfectly, in other words, removing anything that's inconsistent with what we know most glorifies God at any given moment. This is by gift. We can have that intention, that desire, and try to take the necessary steps to be moving in that direction more perfectly. But He alone can move us along that path. He needs our availability, our wanting what He wants. But if a soul is striving to live this way, and there is still yet to be accomplished in the course of their life, in the very reason for which we were created, and there's a unique purpose for each and every one of us, then nothing will prevent us. That doesn't mean there won't be hardships and illness and suffering of various types, but nothing will prevent the completion of the mission. He created each and every one of us with a unique mission. And if that's our primary goal, is to fulfill the purpose for which we were created, he'll move mountains, he'll hold back storms to keep us from being prevented from completing our mission. Because the fulfillment of the purpose for which he created us is more precious to him than it could ever be to us. And it can, as we grow in understanding, reach a very high degree of esteem for what he has given us in life and what we believe is the purpose to be completed. But he alone can bring it about, and he cannot bring it about if we don't want it. But if we want what he wants, then nothing will stop us. It doesn't mean no hardships, no illness. No, we'll have our crosses for sure, and but he will pull us through. I know many that have had really life and death situations, and by all practical reasons, even medical, when I was in the hospitals, would expect that there's no way a person's going to pull through, only to be shocked at how someone could possibly survive after going through different kinds of illnesses or trauma. And and if we keep our trust in him and strive to learn and apply these principles, he will take us by the hand. The Blessed Mother will take the other hand and guide us along the path of the fulfillment of the purpose for which we were created. The title of the volumes, I mentioned it many times: The Call of the Creature to the Order, the Place, and the Purpose for which he was created by God. Well, we could say that's, in a general sense, that applies to his desire for the divine will to reign on earth, among us. Well, yes, that in a general sense is true. It's going to be fulfilled. He wouldn't have taught us to pray the Lord's Prayer, asking that the Father's will would be accomplished on earth as in heaven, if it was never going to happen in the plan of God. No, that's an impossibility. God would not teach us to pray for something that he already knows, and he knows all. It's never going to happen. No, that's not the case. There will be a time that there is the fulfillment of what he taught us to pray. But in the meantime, there is to be the fulfillment of what he taught us to pray in our own lives. And that's exactly what's being addressed in this love that she has, and this intense concern of when he said, "I'll be back in 3 years," it practically killed her because of the intensity of love that she had. In the paragraph just above it is very short. "I must go," he said, "and when are you coming back?" she asked, because she's in a constant concern that she's not going to have him at every moment. Would that we would move in that direction, and not fueled by the consolation of seeing or feeling or hearing, but the desire that we are in a unity with him every moment of every day. On the previous page, the power of one single act repeated continuously is great, more so for this single act of an eternal God who has the virtue of doing everything with one act. So being united with the one who has the virtue of doing everything with one act. We can't forget the example he gave just before that statement that he made. And he gave us the intricacy of all the different things that are connected with the heartbeats. And he says the heartbeat is as one point. Everything else is interrelated to that constant beating of the heart. And that's the way all of existence is for him. Everything is interconnected in his plan. And the more that we can recognize that or place our trust in that, the more that we can appreciate his invitation to participate in his most holy volition, his divine will and act, in the animation, sustaining and animation of all that is. We can't take credit for that, but we can recognize the invitation to be participators with him when we are fused in the divine will. A prodigy which only a God can do, but he can't do it if we don't want it. If we want what he wants, even though we can't really understand why he would want this for us, at least acknowledge God is love, and he loves more than we can possibly imagine. And because he is love, there's never a moment he has not loved us, including in our worst moments. And so what he deserves is our best response in a continuous yes, a continuous fiat, a continuous let it be done, so that he's doing in us his perfect will, and we then participating with him in all that he is doing. I do only one thing, he says. I always do. Oh no, this is let's see. Oh, all of creation is in essence saying, I do only one thing. I always do what the will of God, what God wills, and I live in it. May that be our secret, that we're striving only and always to live his will more and more perfectly through asking him to help us recognize the next area of surrender. It's called dying to self in traditional terms. The next level of surrender, so that he can occupy all that we are with the freedom to do all that he wants. And with that, we'll close. Thank you for reading for us tonight, Kim. I'll bring up that last prayer. That's the link that I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. If you didn't get a chance to, it's too much to write down, but if you can do a screenshot, right now I think there's just the one reflection that's on it, which is very nice. But that's the website, the YouTube channel that's going to have all the recordings. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, because of seeing wounded hearts that choose to unite the wounds, the suffering that they are experiencing, like the family that I had the privilege of being with this morning, to be united with him in his wounded heart. So a oneness in our suffering, so that he gives infinite value to what we accept, thank, and offer. O Lord Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, grant that we may aspire towards thee with all our hearts, with yearning desire, and with thirsting soul, seeking only thy sweetness and thy delights, so that our minds and all that is within us may ardently sigh to thee, who art our true beatitude. O most merciful Lord, engrave thy wounds upon our hearts with thy most precious blood, that we may read in them both thy grief and thy love, and that the memory of thy wounds may ever remain in our inmost hearts, to excite our compassion for thy sufferings, and to increase in us thy love. Grant also that we may be detached from anything and anyone that may hinder our acting with and in your divine volition. Amen. Thank you for joining us. We won't have a bunch of pictures for me to fumble through next time, so don't be afraid that it's going to be as cumbersome for you to wait while I'm figuring out how to get things done. We'll go more directly to the readings and the reflection. May Almighty, the Lord be with you, and may Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Let us strive to only and always want what God wants.